Luke 19, 1 through 10. Entering Jericho, Jesus passed through the city. There was a wealthy person there named Zacchaeus, the chief tax collector.
Zacchaeus was trying to see who Jesus was, but he couldn't do so because of the crowd, since he was short. In order to see Jesus, Zacchaeus ran on ahead, then climbed a sycamore tree that was along the route. When Jesus came to the spot, he looked up and said, "Zacchaeus, hurry up and come down. I'm going to stay at your house today." Zacchaeus quickly climbed down and welcomed Jesus with delight. When everyone saw this, they began to grumble. "Jesus has gone to a sinner's house as a guest." Zacchaeus stood his ground and said to Jesus, "Here and now I give half my belongings to poor people. If I've defrauded anyone in the least, I'll pay them back fourfold." And Jesus said to the tax collector, "Today salvation has come to this house, for this is what it means to be a descendant of Sarah and Abraham. The promised one has come to search out and save what was lost." La palabra de Dios. You may be seated. So this story feels like it's a continuing theme. You might have recognized, at least in the sermons that I've preached, is this anti-hero is lifted up as the hero of the story, a tax collector named Zacchaeus. And it takes place in a town, an old town named Jericho, thought to be one of the oldest, if not the oldest, cities in the world. Remains have been found there as old as 8,000 BC. So that means it's about 10,000 years old. And also, it is one of the lowest cities in the world, according to sea level. So it's about 1,000 feet below sea level, which seems incredible to me. Every story that involves Jericho in the New Testament has an unlikely hero or an unlikely receiver of God's grace. Looks like Brent, my computer just died, so you can you still hear me? Okay. People just have to see me from a distance. Okay, sweet. So, every story in the New Testament involving Jericho has an anti-hero, an unlikely receiver of God's grace. The blind men who annoyed Jesus' disciples and received their sight, the parable of the Good Samaritan on his way to Jericho, the story of the overtaking of Jericho, in fact, in the Old Testament, involves an unlikely hero, too, the prostitute Rahab, who was a vessel for the Lord to hide Israelite spies. Jericho is a site of the passing of the mantle from Elijah to Elisha. Elisha, who is called by God to be Elijah's successor, left his livelihood after Elijah found him in much the same way that the first disciples of Jesus left their livelihoods. Jericho is a low town in many respects, literally low, but also considered to be kind of a dangerous place to travel to and from. Not a place where you're going to find a hero. Today's unlikely hero, Zacchaeus, his name means pure or innocent. And as the story says, he was the chief tax collector. So there's some irony there, right? In fact, Zacchaeus says something like, "If I've defrauded anyone in the least." Well, I think he's being generous to himself. He has defrauded somebody in the least. Tax collectors not only collected taxes, but were known for skimming off a little off the top for themselves. But Jesus calls out his name, Zacchaeus, as if he knew him. And maybe he did know him. You know, Zacchaeus is the chief tax collector, so he could have been well known. But calling out his name of pure and innocent speaks to me that Jesus saw something in Zacchaeus that maybe Zacchaeus didn't even see in himself at the moment. That there was something pure and innocent about this childlike heart that may have been wounded, may have been hurt, that caused him to want to look out only for himself, to protect himself at all costs. Jesus saw that child, said, "Come on, Zacchaeus, come on down. Be with me. In fact, invite me to your house. Go ahead and invite me. I'll come over. I'll eat with you. I see something beautiful in you that I want to spend time with you." It's somewhat surprising that Jesus calls him by name, but by doing so, he gives Zacchaeus a renewed sense of himself as that child once again. There was an unsettling in Zacchaeus that caused him to scurry up a tree in the first place. Kind of a ridiculous action to do, right? Climb a tree to see somebody. By the standards of the world, he is completely successful, right? He's got a stable job, he's got lots of resources, he's got a high degree of respect, at least among his peers. He's the chief tax collector. You might say he was kind of like king shit of poo-poo hill, but still, the chief tax collector. There's a stirring in him that causes him to scurry up that tree that made him want to at least see Jesus. He wasn't ready to get up there and shake hands and introduce himself, but he was curious enough to catch a glimpse, at least on the margins. Getting to the front would mean that he would have to be all in. But he wasn't ready to be all in with himself. There's still shame that prevented him from being all in. He climbed that tree to get a good view, but at a safe distance. The story tells me that Jesus seeks relationships with those who are looking from the margins. Jesus seeks relationships with those who are full of shame, full of doubt, the ones the rest of society would call not worth hanging around. How many Zacchaeuses are running around this building, looking inside, wondering what's going on in there? How many Zacchaeuses are maybe running around inside this building? There's one right there. He's up in a tree from a distance. Zacchaeus is hiding the shame or the hurt that they feel because maybe they don't go to church. Maybe there's just shame in that. I haven't been to church in years. Or because there's some sort of ethical dilemma that they're facing. There's a struggle that they're encountering that fills them with shame. Stigma associated with what they've used as a coping strategy to this point. They're isolated. They're feeling alone. And they're climbing all sorts of trees to get a view of whatever they can see, whether it's Jesus or something else. I think Zacchaeus is our own mirror. We see ourselves in Zacchaeus, not just looking at a distance at Jesus. We might be looking at Jesus, we might be looking at another teacher, but we're not quite ready to go all in. I know I'm there. There's lots of things that I feel ashamed about myself, that I'm learning to work through. Keeping myself at a distance from friends, keeping myself at a distance from family. And yet I know consistently that Jesus, in the form of many of the people in this room, continues to call me out of my tree. Say, Eric, come on down, man. Have a meeting with us. Have some coffee. Just be with me. You're worth being around. I know all that stuff that you feel bad about yourself. I don't see that stuff. I see the good. I see the pure in you. That's who I want to be with. And so I thank this community for calling me out of my tree. I keep climbing up there. But you keep calling me down. So I know that we weren't going to do one-to-ones, but I think we're going to do some one-to-ones because I think we have time. What do you think? I'm looking back at Brent. Yeah? Okay. Yeah? Yeah? I'm getting one of these like, I don't know. We're going to do it. We're going to do it. So I want us to talk about where we've felt like Zacchaeus in the story, and maybe where we felt like Jesus in the story in our lives, where we've called out to someone to say, hey, I see you up there. I want to be with you. So find somebody. This is a practice in our community that we usually do, is to have a one-to-one conversation. This is part of our organizing practice. This is part of our faith practice, our spiritual practice. It's part of everything that we do here, is to have a one-to-one conversation and connect with somebody. So it's not mandatory. If that doesn't feel comfortable, or you just feel like you need some space to be by yourself, you can decline that. That's fine. Somebody may come up and invite you anyway to say, hey, I need some space right now by myself. Or if you want to go back and grab a beverage in the sunroom, or just sit and pray up at the front, that's fine too. But yeah, where have you been, Zacchaeus? Who has called you out from that tree? Where have you been, Jesus? And how have you been the person calling out Zacchaeus? Okay, so we'll take about 8 minutes to have this conversation.